Hello and welcome to session 4 of Agon. And this is the final session of our heroes on their particular journey. And we are going to move them forward and go through the whole process and see if we can generate enough marks in the vault of heaven to allow them permission to return home. And we will check in on that in just a second. By the way, this is part of the Gauntlet Hangouts. The Gauntlet is an online gaming club, and you can find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. We have a lot of other things just besides our online gaming, so check it out because there's some cool stuff. So last time we saw our heroes on the island of Akoros, where they defeated the magician necromancer Erastos. They returned to Phobos the Blue Flame to Orphne's care, and you ushered the unquiet dead back to their proper places in Tartarus. And as you leave, Orphne will ask one of you to bring forward a torch, and she will take a portion of that blue flame and she will put that in that torch for you, and she will give that to you, and she will say, this will burn for as long as you wish it to burn. It will be yours. It will carry you through the darkness. It will lead you the way that you need to go. So take this with you. And your crew, relieved, having survived the island of the dead, do welcome you back. All of the things that you said to them, all of the demonstrations and the speeches that you gave them seem to have held them together, and they are ready to set back out. But they want to hear the story because they didn't see what went on this time. They have no vision. So let me ask, what is the great deed when you tell the story that you focus on? And it could be a descriptor, or it could be a trophy that you will add to your tale. So Nassus, I'm going to start with you. What do you wish as your great deed?
I'm trying to remember. I think, how about like something cool about striking apostates? The impaler of apostates.
Impaler of apostates. Okay, that's an interesting deed. I like that. And then what about for Melanthius?
Yeah, I think for Melanthius, it's definitely taming the flame of Phobos is the deed he focuses on, and I think he maybe has a skull in which a little spark of the flame of Phobos still resides.
Excellent. I like that. And then what about for Khryse?
No question. I think we see Khryse carving a piece of wood into a 3-headed dog, which he will wear around his neck, and he will be known as Friend of Cerberus.
Nice. And then what about Toxophone?
It's the glass of honey wine that we share with the crew, because as much as we wanted to hear our story, we wanted to hear theirs, because they also fought off wraiths and ghosts.
And they will tell you of that. They pour the honey, they break open that, they water it a little, and they tell you of the people that they saw, some from the siege that you were part of, and some from other wars. Now, the next thing we do, once the ship has sailed out, you're going to ask about your virtues to mark those. Which virtues your crewmates believe that you demonstrated. So Nassus, you get to ask each of your companions what virtue they believe you exemplified in this last struggle. Acumen, courage, grace, or passion?
What does Toxophone think?
I think that Nessus demonstrated great courage as a mortal to enter the underworld and return.
And what about Melanthios?
Yeah, I think I think I'm going to go for the same as Toxophone and say courage, definitely, for following the winding path to the underworld.
And before you asked me, Nessus, I must endorse this, to step into the underworld as a mere mortal. That is an act of supreme courage.
Gee, thanks.
I see that Khryse remains the master of shade. Melanthius, let us have you consult with your crewmates.
Certainly. So yeah, Nessus, what virtue did you see Melanthios demonstrate in our journey to the underworld?
I think when you split the flames as you did, I saw a lot of grace.
Thank you. And Khryse, which of Melanthios's deeds spoke to you this time?
Oh, I think undoubtedly. You are a very sharp operator, Melanthius. The acumen that you displayed in identifying the weakness of our foe and exploiting it, I was proud to stand beside you.
Excellent, thank you. And Toxophone, what did you see in Melanthios's actions this time?
Oh, your knowledge, your cunning, your wisdom that took us safely in and out of the underworld. No one else but you could have done that, you spooky bastard.
And Melanthios has gone, so it's Khryse.
Good Toxophone, what saw you of me on this adventure in the underworld?
Oh, undoubtedly courage to take on Hades' three-headed dog. A wondrous thing to see.
Aye, truly it was. Melanthius, what of you?
I think I'm going to go with grace for your dealings with Orphne, and bringing her back from the edge of despair.
Why, thank you. And good Nessus, what of you?
I think it was acumen to know how to do that with Cerberus instead of take on the pup.
Thank you, Nessus. Praise from you is praise indeed.
And Toxophone.
Silvertongue Khryse, what did you see of Toxophone when we were on this island?
Your courage now, Toxophone, I take for granted. So I think, though, it was your passion. I believe that you inspired our crew in a way, while I can convince them, I cannot inspire them necessarily.
Yeah, you're right. I am better leader than you. And what of you, Melanthius?
I think that we saw your passion in your devotion to the crew and their safety.
Oh, thank you. And brave Nasus, our dear companion and sidekick.
I think it's always Grace. We're always fighting side by side, and I always just wish that I was just a little bit more godlike.
Thank you, my comrades, for your kind words.
And the gods will grant you divine favor for the actions that you took. You will receive a blessing from Hecate. You will receive a blessing from Hermes, who led you to this place. And you will also receive a blessing from Zeus, because you kept order of things as is right and proper. And that will fill up the constellation of Zeus for you, meaning that all of you may take a bond with Zeus. Now travel out, you're at sea again, back out into the mists, days out, and once again we have that chance to see each of you speak with one another, ask questions of one another, as a way of clearing the dread that still hangs on you from that mission. Let's go reverse order. Toxophone, who would you go to speak with, and what question would you ask of your comrade?
Oh, I wish to ask Melanthius. They seem so sure that they could take us there and back. What would you have done if we had become lost in the kingdom of Hades?
That is a good question. I suppose had we become lost down there, we would have over time become shades in service to the Lord of the Underworld, and there would have been no return for us. This was a risk that we took, but it was a risk that was a worthy one to take, to allow such a rent between this world and the next is a terrible thing.
Each of you will take a bond with one another. You see, didn't do the glory for the end of conflict. The trophy for smiting the bad guy is the flame that you got, and then the great deed and trophy are that's what that all is. And I think we gave out the glory points for the struggle there when we did it, or did we not calculate that out?
No,
I
don't think so.
we did.
Oh, well, let me see if I can find my notes here then. I think the difficulty was a 12. And if I'm looking here, if I'm right, I think it was Khryse and Melanthius that tied for the highest on that, if I'm recalling correctly at my notes.
That rings a bell.
So Khryse and Melanthius should each roll their name die. And then we'll continue with fellowship.
That's a 5 from me.
So, Khryse, you will get 12 points of glory. Everyone else will get 6 points of glory.
That fills me up again.
Didn't Toxophone smite the bad guy of the highest roll?
Actually, you're right. I'm sorry. I have all written here, and of course, I'm trying to figure out which one it is. But I see, it looks like Toxophone was 21, Khryse was 19, Melanthios was 18, and Nasus was 14. And actually, the difficulty was a 13. So let me start again. Toxophone, you will get 13 glory. Khryse, Nasus, and Melanthius, you will get 7 glory. Thank you. We'll continue on with the fellowship phase here. Khryse, who would you speak to? Who would you ask a question of?
Melanthius again, I'm afraid. Or am I allowed? Can we?
It
have
says you should
multiples?
ask somebody who hasn't already been asked.
Okay, then I think Nasus. And it's a simple question, Nasus. If only 3 of us could have got out, would you have sacrificed yourself?
If it was necessary, I would have done so. And I would have done so in the eyes of my father. So it would have been less of a shame, I think.
Good man.
Both of you take a bond with one another. And then Melanthius.
Yeah, I am going to ask Khryse. Khryse, who did you expect to see in the underworld but didn't?
Homer, whose power of oratory and tale telling I aspire to.
Nice. And that
But
brings...
don't tell Toxophone I said that.
And then Nasus, what will you ask of Toxophone?
I don't know if we've asked this before, but I'm curious who has taught Toxophone to fight the way that they have, as I see Grace all of the time.
I was raised by the Amazons. In the same way that a Spartan will learn to pick up shield and sword, we were trained and we were taught to fight from our earliest days. I know nothing else, and I search for nothing else other than to test myself in battle.
And all of you may clear your pathos, but not your agony or any of that stuff. And we will move on, and we go to the sacrifice phase, where whoever has the highest glory is going to say what that looks like, and then everyone will get a chance to do that test. And I'm actually going to collapse the leadership and the sacrifice phase together, because it seems like you're doing the same thing sort of twice in a row on that one. So I want to simplify that a little for you. So I'm going to roll 2d6, and this will be the difficulty of the sacrifice, and that is a target number of 6. So who has the highest glory right now?
Only a scion of Zeus, I think. But I have paid a lot of agony for that, I need to stress.
So tell us, this is a contest of resolve in spirit. And tell us what is the sacrifice? What do we see you doing and calling on?
I think each of us casts something that we value into the sea in honor of Poseidon Because we are in the end reliant on the will of Poseidon for which way the currents and the winds will take us. And it'll piss off my father if I sacrifice to his brother.
That is perfect. So each of you will roll your contest of resolve and spirit. You'll get glory as usual. So let us begin with Nasus.
Okay. I think I had a pendant that my father had given me, and he said that I could remove it once we had fought together. And I thought that all my life I would never be able to take it off. And now I can, because we did fight side by side. So I tossed that into the nethers. Target number 6. The many-wayed.
Are you still pleased with your epithet of many-wayed?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm very versatile. 9.
And you prevail with a 9. And then Melanthius, are you still happy with the epithet that you changed to?
I am, yes, I am.
And what will you cast as your sacrifice?
Yeah, so Melanthius stands by the prow of the ship, and slowly and carefully he unwraps the mourning shroud that he wears around him, and holds it aloft so it catches in the breeze for a moment, almost like another sail on the ship, before he lets go of it and sees it sail out across the seas, as he says, Now I have been to the underworld and returned. I have no need of such funereal garb.
Nice.
I'll toss you for next go, Nasus.
Melanthius, what did you roll for your contest here, Resolve and Spirit?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot the actual roll itself.
Yeah.
So yes,
We were in the moment.
Yep. I'm going to actually spend my bond with the sailors, because this seems like an appropriate point to do so.
I think we established it was a D8.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Melanthios also with a 9. And then Toxophone, we'll have you go next. What is it that you would sacrifice?
I think she smiles and says, but I care. There's no greater possession than my friendship with you, Calaxis. Smile. But I think if there's the one thing, if that is what was asked for us, it is her bow, which she gives to Poseidon.
Let's have you roll your Resolve and Spirit here.
That's an 11.
That is an 11. And you who asked for this, what is it that you cast to the sea?
I think I'm going to mark a pathos to also invoke arts and oration. So that's 2d10 plus a d8 and a d6. And really, this is a paean that throws shade on Zeus in favor of Poseidon. So I am sacrificing my hopes, in a way, that my father will ever truly recognize that which I am. Yeah.
Excellent.
And that's a miserable 6. You see, he's a bastard.
He is, and he does definitely not shiny saber. You do, however, still get half. You and Nasus and Melanthius all get 3 glory. Toxophona, you will get 6 glory. You will get a bond with Poseidon. And you will be, oh, sorry. You're muted.
Could you, could you give that again for me? Sorry, my connection.
Oh, sure. You will get 6 points of glory, and you will get a bond with Poseidon. And everyone will get 2 divine favor of your choice.
And then I remember something about marking 4 divine favors each cycle.
The favor I mentioned, you marking Hecate, Hermes, and Zeus. That was the ones from the Vault of Heaven. And then you got the 2 from that. So that's the 5 that you've gotten.
I had not marked those ones.
Okay, well, it's good you asked.
But not a boon this time, because instead we have the Torch of Phobos.
Toxophony would get the boon would get a boon gets a bond with that deity.
Don't we get a boon because we filled out the Zeus constellation then?
Yeah, that's what I said. You got a bond. Oh, is it a boon and not a bond?
I thought so.
When a constellation is completely filled, each hero records a bond with that deity, and because you marked 3, you get a boon. Thank you.
And then for boons here, am I right in assuming that with the separation, you can only do the ones after the 5th one? Is it like that with like PBTA?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, makes sense. Otherwise, I was going to get that sweet, sweet double divine favor.
All right. So, Toxophone, because I'm simplifying things, I'm going to have you start as leader for this next island. That may change, of course, as we saw last time. I think that we will see there'll be visions that will be given to you, signs from the gods. It's interesting. Some of these islands, especially the later stretch goal islands, write these signs as very literal, like you actually see things when you get to the island, whereas some of them write them in the more abstract, that these are the signs that are given to you. And so, Melanthius, you will have a vision. It is not from Hecate, but it is from Demeter. It is somewhat of a chthonic vision. You see on a hillock, you will see a ring of mushrooms growing up from that hillock, and you can tell that it hints at a rich loam, a rich layer of truth and meaning hidden below the surface. And because Zeus turned his back on you in this particular case, or at least you did not honor him as well as you could have, I think that you, Khryse, will have a vision sent by Hera. And you see 2 rowboats. They are lashed together side by side, but they're tied so closely together that they smash against one another and then pull apart, and the ropes threaten to come apart and for them to drift in different directions. And so, Melanthius, what do you say to your comrades of what you have seen?
There is a truth buried deep on this next island, something I think we must unearth if we are to understand whatever problems we are inevitably drawn into.
And what do you say, Khryse?
We are traveling to a place where two people or things or ideas seem bound together, but almost to the point of being constricted and damaging one another, just as they would if they were entirely separate. We must beware some kind of conflict or overarching dangerous bond.
And you will see the mists part, but even before the mists begin to part, you will hear music, loud speech, carrying on the wind here. And as it parts, you will see ahead the island known as Khryse. And you will see that it is partially submerged. You can see that coming out from the water are bits of a ruined acropolis, a city that are there. There are places that have been built up to walk across, but there are canals almost amongst the flooded. But then the rest of the city goes on to this hillock, and you can see that there are amphitheaters and so on, and there are multiple richly appointed ships that are pulled up at the docks there. And you can see beautiful banners flying and well-dressed people mingling on the quayside. And you can hear the sounds of like a regular pulsing drum beat that carries all of this. It all seems to be made to echo and carry and reverberate as the ship approaches here. And your ship will come and make landfall alongside beautiful galleys, rich purple sails, such an expense to dye sails like that. And people, well-dressed and so on. And as you come, you will see a very well-dressed figure, and he comes up to where you are, and he will say, "Greetings, greetings to you, travelers. Who is the captain of your vessel?"
I spend a point of pathos and say, good my friend, it is I, Khryse, silver-tongued yet serpent-scarred. Is there a celebration here?
Well, you have come. It is the festival here. I assume that you and your companions wish to come and join to the festival. We can provide space and lodgings for you here if you wish to attend. It is a contest between Apollo himself and the Muses. That has gone on throughout these many years. But please, if you would like, we can arrange for you to have passage and attendance and hospitality.
Such a contest is made for me.
Absolutely, good sir. If you are a singer, then there should be no barrier of expense that you should be willing to pay to join in such a thing.
See to the ship, my friends. I have a competition to win.
And he will say that allow us to deal with trivial, mundane matters before we enter into such a graceful place.
Surely this is a sign from the gods. I would tell you of the time that I was Apollo touched, and his beams struck my shield, and at the harpies I came at them and killed them all. Have you heard of me and my deeds?
Certainly. Your name is echoed throughout, and you are more than welcome here with this contest. These duels that go on. We duel via champions, spoken word poetry, the rhapsodies, and other songs, and even performance contests of valor. But as I said, as others have properly given their patronage to provide and support the contest, in exchange for place to stay and so on, lodgings and things. That is the matter that I am here, the mundane, to take care of. So there is a small fee.
I misappropriated a rule. It's not pathos, it's a bond, and I don't have a bond with Toxophone. So I withdraw discreetly.
Okay. When he says there's a small fee, and then he step back.
Yeah,
you need to talk to Toxophone.
I think Toxophone says, "Oh no, Captain! It is only right that you pay." After all, what sort of storyteller would take the wages from their very crew?
Are you willing to pay up your the gold that you might have had, what treasures you got from the war to enter into this contest?
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And Carcos will say, excellent. He will take those goods from you, and he will say, go and make your way amongst, so that you might see there is a great performance coming up soon. And as we get to evening tide, come and find me, and I will show you to your shelter and have food provided and all such. You are more than welcome here. And he will head out. You can see that people are flooding towards what appears to be one of the main stages at this point. What's your take on this, Nassus?
Well, that man seemed a little bit exploitive, but I like the festivities and it seems to me, I think that the idea of the contest for Apollo means that I was pulled here for a reason, since I'm obsessed with getting more touchings from Apollo. So there's a reason I'm here, obviously, even despite the fact that we were probably just grifted.
Absolutely. And you will find yourself almost drawn a little bit towards the west as you walk along here amongst the crowds. You can tell that there seems to be a division, that the west seems to be marked out more with Apollo signs and symbols there. The lyre and the bow and so on that direction, and you're drawn that way. What have you, Melanthius? What are you looking for? What are you saying as you're walking along? And imagine that we've got some land, but we've also got some planks laid down to walk across these canals and up towards this grand stage.
I think that Melanthius is sort of mingling amongst the crowds, not drawing more attention to himself than need be, and I think he is intrigued by this festival, this contest, as a chance to see a performance by Apollo is obviously not something to be missed.
Yeah, and you will definitely see, I mean, on the east side, the markers of each of the muses, Calliope, and the other 8 that I can't remember right this second, that I should have written the names down for. But they're definitely all of those arts, including the Turkish Korean art of music, is performs there, and you've thrown off your funereal shroud.
Yes, yeah.
And this is right and proper because the sun is baking down here. It is bright. It is sunny out, and you are taken by the joyousness here. And what about you, Toxophone?
Toxophone leans close to Melanthios and says, Melanthios, there seems to be an island full of people like Khryse. Are you sure we escaped the underworld?
I hope that the entertainment on offer here will be somewhat more tuneful than the wailing of the dead.
I've heard him sing.
And I think since Toxophone, you are a warrior born. You're certainly looking at what the city was, what its defenses were, and things like that. But you will notice some of them submerged, and some of them up on the hillside. You will see these machinations, these large metal figures, many of them holding instruments, but they're rusted. Some of them are half submerged. None of them seem to be moving. It's only when you see up near that sort of main stage, you will see that there is a figure made of brass that is tall, and it is the one kind of beating out the time on this enormous brass drum there. And it seems to be the only one of these mechanicians that seems to be functioning here, and kind of seems to be maybe calling the time as the four of you will approach up. The crowd is there, wine is flowing, people are talking. There's great wonder. You have the sense, Calixis, that this contest has been going on for a very long time.
And now it will be resolved.
And as you approach, and Karkaros is there ahead of you, and they're kind of clearing out, and everyone is getting ready, and you will see Karkaros has kind of gotten himself in an important position. He clearly manages things here, and you will hear this page rush up to him and says, Karkaros, DMX he is more in his cups than is right and proper. I do not think that he will be able to perform quite yet. He is in Escapolis's tent at this moment. And you can tell the crowd, this must be the person that they're waiting for, DMX, and that they're getting kind of rowdy here as they are awaiting him to do his Rhapsodes song chant that he would bring to the table. What would you do?
I would lay a calming hand on Karkaros's arm and say, fear not, leave this to me. And I will step out in front of the audience and knock them dead.
So you wish to charge forward up to where Apollo's orb and chaplet lay in the middle of the stage awaiting the performer. You just wish to move out there and take the prize here, perform?
Of course.
Absolutely. Now, the question will be is do others wish to aid you, or do they have another trick that they wish to perform during this contest?
I know better than to compete in this area by now, so I will lend a hand. I'll start I don't know. How would I help in this way? Maybe to introduce Calixtus or to carve a path to the place?
I like that. So you can gain a glory and a bond by lending him your aid. And what of you, Melanthios? Do you wish to turn your attention to this or move off to other matters?
I think that I trust in Calixtus's talents. Melanthios is going to slip into the healer's tent and see if anything may be done for the stricken poet.
Absolutely. And what of you, Toxophone?
Chance to be Calixtus in the performing arts. It's too great an opportunity to not pursue.
Excellent. So the two of you will each step forward, though Calixtus' foot is probably upon the stage first. And I will roll for the revelers here in just a moment. And then we'll also come then to Melanthios against the drunkenness of DMX with Craft and Reason. So we'll start, though, with this contest here. And let me add that other die that they get. This is the revelers. And this is, of course, arts and oration versus the revelers. And this task is perilous and sacred because they are drunk and enthusiastic. So I will roll for them. And this task is a 12. So let us start Calixtus.
I will sing a song, sing in a voice of such enchanting beauty, but I will communicate not just beauty and the art of this, but I will spend pathos to invoke the blood that we have shed on our voyage. And I will spend another pathos to just recognize to demonstrate a degree of resolve here. And finally, a third pathos in order to invoke reason. I want to know, I'm spotting the crowd and I'm working the room by working out, which bits go well. And so I go for that more. So I think, let's just work out what that is. So that is silver-tongued Calixtus, a D10 plus 1D8, plus arts and oration, plus blood and valor, plus craft and reason, plus resolve and spirit for a D8. Okay.
Plus my help, right?
Indeed.
D8.
Having my ladies and gentlemen in the blue corner. Plus
he's your hype man.
He is. He's the warm-up act. So that's a lot of dice. I don't think we'll call it at that lot. That is 16.
That is a 16 that you bring to this table. And you sing out and you call out and do this magnificent performance. And the crowd eats it up. They cheer. This is not DMX that they expected, but a new contender that has entered the arena here. And they don't see the marker of Apollo or the muses upon you. They cannot tell which side you belong to. And this is something new. But then Toxophone, what is your performance like? you are muted.
Toxophone's performance is one of movement and dance, which tells the story of our journey to the underworld and back. But there is music, because I'm spending my bond with the sailors, who will sing a shanty that would put the Assassin's Creed Odyssey crew to shame. I will spend a point of pathos, for this is movement and physicality which will take people's breath away with my blood and valor. And I call upon Poseidon to tell this story.
Excellent.
Which means I'm rolling. Oh, and as the crew have come to sing with me, I'm going to mark that I am leader of men as one of my great deeds. That gives me another D8, right?
Yes.
Right. And that will be a 18.
It is an 18. Khryse, if only you had called on the gods, but you turned your back on them, and that is what cost you in the end. And this is so different from anything they've seen, and a new story, a new tale that they had not heard before, a new thing, and they will rise cheering you as you do that, and you can see certainly that Karkaros is relieved. You will get 12 glory, Toxophone, and though your performance is legendary, it is worth but 6 glory, Khryse. You will have to do better in the coming days.
I will need to find much wine.
And speaking of much wine, Melanthius, you will find yourself in the tent of Escapulus. You're surprised how many people are in the tent. A lot of people sunburn and illness, and of course drunken accidents and things. And so it will. The doctors here seem a little overworked. But they will direct you back to DMX's bed, and you can tell that he is well number sheets to the wind as he looks up at you and he says, "Is it? What's this? Wine?"
Yes, my fair poet, the time for your performance has come, and I fear gone. You seem somewhat addled. Might I be of assistance to you?
I just and then it was going to say, yes.
I see. And I think that Melanthius is going to start mixing some herbs and to make a potent and foul-smelling concoction in an attempt to hasten the DMX's sobriety.
I'm going to roll for his drunkenness. And this is versus craft and reason. And his drunkenness is a 12.
That's pretty drunk. So yeah, I think that Melanthius draws on his knowledge of herbs and other concoctions. I'm also going to draw on his resolve and spirit as he channels a little of his mother's divine power in order to rid the man of the poisons that course through his veins. And in fact,
my plug on my microphone is coming loose, so hang on one second.
GM disappears into the underworld.
There we go. The plug was like just falling out, so I was hearing the start of each sentence, and then it would trail off. But
No
yes,
worries.
I wish to see your role. I wish to see what you bring. Can you defeat this legendary drunk?
Yes, there's 16.
And so what do we see that when he drinks this concoction, is it a purgative? Is it simply that it clears his head? What do you suppose it is?
I think it clears his head. Yeah, I think it's a bitter but revitalizing tonic that burns the alcohol from his veins.
And he will. Whoa, claps his hand on your shoulder. Who are you? Who are you?
My name is Melanthius, scion of Hecate. And healer and sorcerer. I have you seemed somewhat the worse for where the drink had taken you.
My performance, it just rises up. He can hear the cheering of the crowd. What is going on?
I think a couple of my companions have taken to the stage to keep the crowd appeased whilst waiting for you.
You will gain a bond with DMX, but he does seem a little distraught that this has occurred and that he was discommodited through this. And he will walk with you back out to there. He will say, "How did you come to this place? Did you come for the contest?"
I think our journey here was in the hands of the fates. We have been sailing for some time. It was happenstance fate that brought us here at this time, but this festival, I'm sure, will be a worthy thing to witness.
But your friends are competing. Have they chosen a side?
I do not believe so, no.
Then they must come to the Muse's side with me. We have more wine.
You certainly seem to have a great deal of wine, if perhaps somewhat less now than earlier today.
It is but a thing. The heat caught me a little today, and I was parched. Just a few more sips than I should have. And when you return, you will probably see the tail end of the cheering for Toxophane. You will see Nasus and Khryse off to the side, and Khryse has been handed a gourd of wine to drink from, and he seems a little downcast as you arrive there, Melanthius. Nasus, how do you comfort Khryse, or do you not?
That's a good question.
It is.
I think I know that any words would be more of a jipe, so instead I just pour more wine. I'm the one that pours it into the gourd, and we just share some drinks.
And you will see the crowd break, moving into small groups. You can see that there's definitely a leader for the Apollonians. He stands proud and tall, dressed in a golden breastplate, and seems to be leading them and clearly organizing to head back to their encampment there on the west coast. On the other hand, you'll see this woman. She's just kind of dancing amongst the ones who serve the muses. You have the sense that she's in charge, but they're just doing whatever they want. But they definitely do have a lot more wine and revelry going on that side.
Is it a chance possibly to renew my great deed touched by Apollo by telling them the story?
Absolutely. So if I recall correctly, the way that we do that is a contest for renewing that. Let me check how that is done. Okay, where's my stuff for that? Offerings. Propose a contest. What contest? This seems like arts and oration. If you're going to tell that tale again.
Indeed, yes.
And let's do that against the revelers here.
How uppity have they become since drinking the wine?
They are a little perilous because they are a little drunk. So
Yeah.
I will roll for them as you go to try and tell this tale.
This could be the time NASA starts a riot.
It is a 14.
Oh, okay. So
Would he welcome an accompaniment from Khryse?
of course.
If you've got a bond do I get a bond or do you burn a bond? I can't remember.
So if you go to assist, you gain a bond. He takes the die, but you gain a bond and a glory.
A splash of glory.
Yeah,
Sprinkle.
not enough.
Yeah. Says the person with the most glory.
That gives you my name dice, yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's a D10.
Oh, a fancy one. Okay, so I think I slam my shield on the stone or whatever structure there is nearby in order to get people's attention. And then I shout out the story and tell them that this lovely mirror shield is the one that brought down harpies from Hera, was it? Who brought down? Yeah, Hera?
Yeah, I think so.
If I recall correctly. The harpies of Hera. And all I had to do was but channel the west sideness of Apollo. Ingratiating myself to them. Okay, so arts and oration. 14. Put that in the many-wayed. I will do a splash of pathos for craft and reason. And 1d10 from help. And I will use the knowledge of Apollo as help. Come on. Yes. I did it.
You will, once again,
Exactly.
as is your way, roll exactly.
Yes.
So you will gain 14 glory. Every contest gains you glory.
Wow.
As you tell this story to them, and they will be impressed, and that tale will start to carry. They're hungry for stories here, new tales, as you go to talk to them. Taxophone, we will definitely see that the two leaders are kind of eyeing one another, and like they're both kind of, you know, maneuvering themselves to come over to speak to you. Is there one or the other that you wish to approach, or do you wish to hold yourself haughty from the competition?
I think Toxophone is definitely haughty, but she would seek just for a moment. I think she'd turn her eyes away from both of them and seek Calaxis and extend to him a wine goblet and say, Calaxis, I would not have won that competition if not for all you have taught me. You're a
Kind
fine,
words.
you're
Kind
a
words
fine-
are fine, but coming second is not.
Ah. There are times you have bested me with the sword. It only seems fair, my friend. Now, I believe that we pay to drink this wine, and I do not believe they put a limit on how much wine we can drink. I say we make them regret this moment.
I agree with that, Toxophone. Come, let us drink ourselves to oblivion.
And you'll see the two leaders who see that this, and you see them kind of head off as if they're going to wait till later to maybe come and talk to you. And it is sort of getting dusk, and you will drink. You realize that this wine is very watered. There's an abundance of it, but it is very watered. And you ask, and eventually they will direct you to your lodgings, where you will find that essentially a square of ground has been marked out, and there is a simple tent that will do little to keep you from the cold. And this seems to be the lodgings that you paid so dearly for. And you can see that there are many other people in the same boat that have spent their money and have been given the most basic provisions and places to stay. We will take our break here, and then when we come back, we will see what that evening brings to all of you, and what you wish to do. So let's take 5 or 6 minutes. So the wind does catch cold, does come over the waters, and it cools things down. You can tell that there are up on the hillock maybe revelers that have paid more to have better lodgings up there, but then there are temples and other areas past. And you'll definitely hear the sounds of practice and chanting come from the two coasts of the island, from Apollo's west coast and from the Muses east coast, and it kind of carries across the island here. There is a bit as dusk falls where you hear that drum automation will do a beat regular for a time and then kind of stop. Like that's all that it can muster is a few times during the evening. And there are some other people around here that you could talk to. But let's see what the four of you are planning. Your crew have come, they've drunk watered wine, and they're hanging about the edges of here, but mostly staying on the ship. But what have you for? What do you think? Let us start with the hype man of the group. Let us start with you, Nassus. What is your opinion
On what we should do?
Yeah.
I think that there's something strange afoot here, and we should perhaps question more people about what is going on, because it seems like this festival has been going on for some time, and why has there not been a conclusion? even though I'm sure it will be concluded soon now that we are here. As I look at Khryse in a placating way.
And Taxophone, what do you think? You are the leader.
This is poor hospitality. At the very least, this is poor hospitality. It's an odd place. It's ruins of things that could have been made by Hephaestus themselves. I don't like this place at all. It is strange. I think we should get some answers.
I think you're right, Toxophone. This is not the place I thought it was going to be.
And Melanthius?
There seems to indeed be an almost unhealthy level of competition between the two parties within this contest. I do not know what purpose it serves, but I think we must dig down to get to the bottom of this.
So, should we have a once around of people checking in on things, or should we do paired scenes? I will ask the leader, the one who has that role and that right, to tell me how you wish to divide your forces.
We're all more than capable of dealing with matters like this alone. But perhaps there is safety traveling in pairs. Yes, we'll travel together. There are the leaders here that need to be. They are undoubtedly going to make a play for Khryse's lyre to be brought to their side.
Or, in fairness, your dance.
Why not both?
So in that case, Taxophone, if we're pairing up, who would you take with you?
This time I will take Khryse, and we will get to the bottom of this matter. His wits and my sword. Yes.
Could I demur? It just seems to me that if we were to split, one of us go to the Apollonians, one to the Muses, Nasus has proved wit and tongue today.
That Nasus.
Are we going to the west side?
I will seek out then. I will seek out those who serve Apollo. I am loyal to the gods, not the Titans.
And that leaves Melanthius and I to see what's happening on the east side.
Then you will set out through this. You will note as each of your two groups move through that the various blocks and sort of neighborhoods, there are markers and banners on them that are almost like flags, and you'll realize that seems to be part of the competition. Is that must be what's at stake? Is they stake a neighborhood, where they stake a section of their side, and that's taken, and that seems to go back and forth, and they have that set out, and so Taxophone, Nasus, you will walk through the night. You hear the groaning of people as you have to pass by them shivering in their poor tents there. You will see some people moving around suspiciously in the darkness, but there's just lots of people here. But you will come to the encampment, clearly marked for Apollo. It is, how best to put this, regimented. You can see that there are drills for dancing being run by this leader. He's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and he's making them run through that. And there are others that are doing their practices. And it seems that these people, they have exquisite technical skills, unerring in their adherence to and their performance of these classical forms here. There's the group there, and they seem to be somewhat exhausted. But as you approach, you're seen. Someone goes and runs, and you will see the leader hand off his baton to his second, and he will stride over to where you are, and he will say, "I'm Telmistos. You are Toxophone, who performed this afternoon."
Yes.
We are well met. It is good. I had hoped to have a chance to speak with you today during that, but in the chaos of the festivities was drawn away. I imagine that your lodgings are not exactly as hospitable as we might be able to provide. Perhaps you and your companion would care to come and sit by the fire here and join us, and perhaps some wine, food.
It would be rude indeed to turn down such hospitality.
And he will gesture over, and there is a moment when as you're walking over there talking, and he does see something out of the corner of his eye, and he goes, no, again, up again, and comes back cheering to where you are, and says, what is your name, good sir? I did not catch it this afternoon when you were speaking for your companion Khryse.
I am Nasus, touched by Apollo.
You are the one that I heard the tales of this afternoon, of your story, of your connections with the great god Apollo, who we all serve here. So, Toxophone, perhaps you might consider throwing in your skills with our great works here. I think your brand of martial valor combined with dance would be a wondrous aid to our side.
Perhaps. Tell me more about this competition. How long has it gone on for?
Apollo and the Muses have struggled over this island, but they are of the same family, so it has not been a violent one. So we have settled on this thing, and we have been here, what now? 10 years, I think.
$10 years.
Yes, but
How
I
does
know that the signs that have been given me by Apollo and your presence suggest to me that the end of this deadlock is in sight.
What do you compete for other than the honor itself? 10 years of your life? Not even the battle between the gods. The battle between the gods and the Titans was only 10 years.
The Titan alchemy is, yes, I 10 years, but I know that our struggles and our efforts will be rewarded. There are those who have lost faith, who have fallen away. But we've had new recruits that have arrived, sent from elsewhere, and they've become part of our greater language. We are constantly changing our numbers, our members, but our song and our performance remains strong and steady. You understand? We are warriors of the dance.
I understand strong and steady, but my friend who is the performer is not steady. They wisp and they turn. They are enlightenment with music and art. I feel that you have lost your way.
And it gets real quiet real quick when you say that. He says, "Friend, I think I must have misheard what you just said to me, but it seems that you were criticizing my handling of things here, you who have only just arrived this day. Tell me that I am wrong, that I did mishear you."
And Toxophony gives Nasus the "shall I murder him" stare.
And Nasus nods.
So Toxophony turns back and says, "Did I stutter?"
And he stands, and his assistant, is there with blade to hand to him, and we will come back to you two in just a moment. Singing, dancing, all different kinds of songs going on, revelers. It's a chaotic mess over here on the East Coast. You can see that there's no schedule here. There's no organization. You will see that that woman that you saw before, who is brilliant and charismatic and draws the eyes of everyone, seems to be kind of going through, and she'll stop and she'll say, "Yes, that's great. Yes, you're doing so well. Yes, you can do that tomorrow. Yes, absolutely." And then she off to another place, and you are greeted by people here who come. You are the Khryse who gave us such a new song this afternoon. Come. And who is this with you?
This is my friend. This is Melanthios, called Witchwise. He knows many things, including, perchance,
Yes.
that sometimes inspiration isn't enough.
Well, they seem, they're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And you will see DMX approach you, and good friend Melanthios, you have come, and this is the celebrated Khryse. Most well met. Very good. So pleased
Always
to
a
see
pleasure
you.
to
Yes.
meet another poet.
Yes, it is, isn't it? And one of such stature. Yes. Well, please come and I will pour you some of the better wine, since we pay dearly for it, and we actually don't water it as much as the others do. So, and
I'd quite like to insert a brief flashback here.
Sure.
Which is, as Melanthius and I are walking, through the town to get here, I guess we're seeing lots of people doing nothing. It's the agriculture, there's the trades of all. And I look at Melanthius and say, this is not a sustainable place. It exists just for this competition, and I like the arts. I like a competition, but surely This isn't natural.
I think you may be right. There is certainly something working here to keep these people in this state of constant celebration. But whether it is mystical or more down to earth, I think remains to be seen.
Well, what I wonder is whether when we meet these people, whether we can determine whether Apollo and the Muses actually approve of this.
Yes, perhaps.
I think both would approve of winning, but this endless competition.
So shall we cut back to you with T-Max?
With that in mind, then,
Yeah.
I think I'm hoping Melanthius is going to tune into the kind of,
Yeah, and I think Melanthius is actually going to say, as sort of they're being served the wine, he takes a sip and says, "This is indeed a fine vintage, dear Max. I can see quite how you overindulged earlier. But tell me,
Just he's not a regular thing.
oh, I have no doubt. But tell me, do you and your fellows also pay tribute to Karakos for your fine lodgings and refreshments here?
Well, our lodgings are our camp provided by the Muses, though when they come, we rarely have more than a few at a time when they do appear and give us our visions, but they do. But Karakos is provides, yes, the wine and the fish and the bread and so on. He supplies that, so we do not have to look to such things. I won't say it's the most hospitable fare, but it needs must at these times. Certainly the wine for us is good. The fish at times could be fresher. The bread could be less stale. But yes, he oversees this island.
Excellent. And you say the Muses visit but infrequently.
Certainly, it's been centuries since the Muses all appeared. And once we have visions from them as they grant inspiration to our artists here.
Excellent. Well, it certainly seems an unusual state of affairs that you have here, but I suppose if it is the will of the gods and their servants, then such is, I'm sure, the best course of action.
And he'll nod, and you will see this woman. You can tell as she drifts through, she loves to be loved. You can tell that she loves to be admired. She goes and she talks to everyone, and she enjoys their adoration as she gives them praise, and they love to hear the kind words from her. And she will approach, and she will say, "Demex, please, would you introduce me to these two beautiful gentlemen?" And he will say, "Master Melanthius, Master Khryse, this is Thelzone." She is the leader of our encampment. She goes, the leader is, let's not be so formal. I'm the guide in what we do here in this contest. Your words were beautiful. I certainly preferred them to the harsh and bloody-minded poetry of your a friend who spoke.
So you are first among equals here, then, Falzone.
I am the glue that holds things together, and I keep things organized. And as she gestures, you can see everybody going in different directions, and the chaos that's going on. Oh yes.
How long have you been here?
We have competed here for the glory of the muses for 10 years.
But you personally, did you come here from afar and then never leave?
I came here and I found my calling. I have always served the muses, and now this is a chance to do what I've always wanted, to bring art of all kinds to the world.
People.
Yes.
And you would never think, for instance, of leaving with us?
No. This is our home. This is our it is our stage.
But the stage, the world is a stage. Come with us and strut upon it.
I cannot do that. I cannot, and I would not. I am the champion of the muses.
Yes, I can see that. I can see that now you say it. And in an aside to Melanthius, they're held here.
I think you may be right.
I think we've seen enough. Or I've seen enough. This is a perversion of art.
Interesting. Then I'm going to cut away from you two and come back to see what you do after that. You will see Telmisos stands up and girds himself there, and he says, I am ready to stand for Apollo here, if you will come and face me on the grounds.
Are you willing, really, to spill blood over this?
A truly skilled warrior can decide this contest without shedding blood. Shall we demonstrate our martial skills, our technique, or do you not have enough control?
What do you think fighting me will achieve?
I think I will shut your mouth. You can see you've hit him. He's clearly very competitive, and you have brooked this in front of his companions, and his inherently taciturn nature has come out, and he wants to make it clear to everyone that he is in charge here.
I think you will find that I am not here to do your bidding. Why do you think you are worthy enough to fight me? I have nothing to prove to you.
And he says then you are a coward.
And you are derivative.
Oh! The blade comes out of its sheath.
Galaxus taught me all the mean words to tell thespians.
And he will charge. Do you wish to engage in this contest?
If they are making the first move, then I will defend myself.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you, because you're a leader, I think there are two ways you could play this. You could play this essentially with a demonstration of grace and technique, or with a demonstration of blood and valor. What do you wish to do?
I have no desire to kill him as of yet, so I think my aim is to sidestep and disarm him. So what would I need to roll?
Well, we will roll the strife, and I think this will be for you. Will probably require craft and reason to disarm him as the main, but of course you may call in other dice. I will show you the roll here. This contest has a target number of 14.
And can I help by perhaps calling attention to all of this so that if should he fail, all people know of this?
Absolutely. Do you want, and certainly you could aid him?
Yes.
Her, sorry. Oops. So you will get Nasus's name die. Nasus, you will get another glory and another bond.
Which
What's
is
the name die at the moment, Nasus?
it just became a D10.
Woohoo! Welcome to the 2D10 Club.
That's why you tell Apollo stories.
So, if this is craft and reason, I will be spending a point of pathos because this is he attacked like a second-year martial student, and I am literally going to do that, sidestepping around them to make them look like the idiot that they are. So that's 3d10, 8.
You moved like you studied combat 10 years ago.
Yes. Yes. You fight like you learned to do it on the stage. That's the wrong one to type the roll into. This is the one I need to roll into. And I will be acting equally with the precision of Artemis.
Nice.
And where's the roll gone? That'll be a 20, you friggin' hack of an actor.
So tell me what that looks like. What do we see on screen as you deal this in slow, beautiful motion here?
I think he rushes towards me. There is just one quick movement where the sword is in Toxophanes' hand and pointed to, what was his name again, sorry?
His name is Telemisos.
Pointed to Telemisos' throat, and then the sword is flicked over behind Toxophanes' head, landing point down in the in the ground. He just shakes his head. See? Derivative.
And he bows his head, and there will be a cheering that will go up from the encampment here. And they will move forward with a tunic in the colors of their encampment in this bright, vibrant green, that they will come and they say to you, lead us to victory. Become our champion. Speak for Apollo. Speak for we who live here on the West Coast.
What do you seek to achieve?
Victory. We wish to achieve victory.
For what?
What do you mean for what?
Ooh.
For Apollo.
And what sign has Apollo shown you that he needs this victory from you?
We know we have had visions in the past, and we know that I mean we have done his will here.
Make offerings to Apollo tonight and pray. I will give you my answer in the morning.
And we will prepare the tent for you. And they point you towards a much more luxe set of accommodations than the one back at the rough site. Nessus, what are you doing during this?
As the speech is happening, I'm getting fitted for a green tunic. But I think I'm also just prowling around and making sure that there's no... I'm looking for like ill omens and ill signs of people just not being behind it.
Well, let's do a contest of craft and reason here, and then we'll come back to the other side.
Okay.
Let's see. And let me get the numbers for you here. Difficulty is 13. It is perilous and sacred.
Ooh, cool. Okay. So I think I'm...
Yes.
What?
Yes, David, 14 glory.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I'm looking around, and I'm also looking for signs of, I don't know, supernatural or God-like intent in the reflections of my Apollo-esque shield, making sure things are as they seem as I see them. So craft and reason, right?
Yeah.
13. The many-wayed. And I'll do a sprinkle of pathos again.
Sprinkle your pathos on, yeah. Delicious.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm gonna use the authority of Zeus in this.
Let's hope
as
it
I
helps.
look.
Zeus does not look too kindly.
Oh,
But you
these
do
days.
prevail with a 16. You'll gain 13 glory. You will see two things as you move through the night beyond the fact that there are people in the green of Apollo and the people in the black of the muses and their colors. And definitely see after it's gotten dark, I mentioned the figures moving around. Definitely see there are people moving around and like pushing and accosting each other if they come across someone of the rival colors there at night. You will see that this place maybe once was great. Those mechanicians that have rusted and sat here have a kind of majesty to them. But you will see two things that strike you. The first is you see, and I'm going to say his name correctly, Karkaros. And you see him, like, people are clearly looking for him, like people looking for him to complain about their lodgings and things like that. But you will definitely see him kind of at one point slipping off, certainly with a padded sack. And you see him sliding off, and he kind of vanishes up onto the hillock up top. But the other thing you'll see there is he stops and he speaks with this woman briefly, who also kind of vanishes out from sight. But when you look down at your shield, you see that the woman, there's a fire burning in her that is unnatural. When you look at her without the shield, she looks like a just normal woman who's kind of moving out and around amongst the crowd. Does that seem like fair info?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Let me return to our East Coasters. What are you two doing? You've finished up speaking with Ilzone? What next, Melanthius?
I think that Melanthius will head out of the areas of the encampments, and I think actually he too is going to head towards the hill with the memories of his vision in mind.
Then let's say you cross paths with Nessus. Is that okay to connect those up?
Sure.
Yeah.
So you do see Nessus moving around quietly in the dark. He has his shield out, and he seems to be searching for something. As you approach, you see Melanthius approaching quietly.
And I relay the information about both of them. A fiery character and a sneaky one.
Well, I suspect this Karkaros may be up to something underhand. He is clearly preying on those who come to this place, as he did us, I think. As for this woman with fire, I'm not sure, but perhaps she is somehow drawing power from this festival, or I do not know. But the vision I had before coming to this island, I dreamt of a ring of mushrooms on a hilltop. I thought I would see if I can find this place and see if I might learn anything from it.
You can search for that if you like. I have a feeling one of the two might be going to such a place.
So that seems like a contest of craft and reason, David?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Do you both wish to compete on this? Or do you
I'll
wish
help.
Just help. Okay.
Sure thing, thank you.
Let me roll and tell you the difficulty here.
Follow the yellow flame.
It is a 14.
Ooh, that is a tricky one.
Lots of glory, though. Get the glory.
Yeah. I am. I think that Melanthius whispers a few words and his golden eyes start to not quite glow, but they take on that sort of cat's eye type cast to them and start to reflect the light a little better as he draws upon his magic. And I think I'm going to draw on the insight of his mother to aid him in this search. Yeah, and I think I will spend a point of pathos to bring his resolve and spirit into it, as well as he relies on his determination to make it through the dark night after these two.
Absolutely. Did you call in any divine favor?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I've called in the divine favor from Hecate.
All right, then let's see it. Oh,
15, so
a
just
close run, but 14 glory. As you follow behind Karkaros as he moves up to what would have been maybe the central temple of this place in the past, but it's definitely fallen into ruin. It looks like maybe even broken and desecrated in the past. Maybe that's why this island is partially sunk. It's unclear. But it was a temple to Apollo, had shrines for the muses. But you will see Kakaros moves past that temple, and he goes to a place where there's a rock and it looks solid, but at his touch, it rolls aside. And he will go down into the depths, and you will follow him, you two quietly behind, and you will see him descend down into this chamber that lies at the heart of the island. And as you look in, as you kind of stop yourselves, you will see a carving and a figure, and you will know when you see it, it's a figure of a woman stretched out, and she's bejeweled, and you can tell that this is the goddess of the island. This is Khryse. This is her shrine. And you can see that all of the gold that Kakaros has gotten over these 10 years is poured in front of her, spread out. This is what feeds her glory, is all of this wealth, is all of this ambition and payment and all of this strife that she has caused in the name of all of this money. Let's come to Calaxis. Melanthius glides off into the dark. What do you do?
I want to speak to Calliope.
And how would you do that?
He's a sucker for a good song. So I want to find out if the muses actually value this at all.
I think this is going to be resolve in spirit. Against the island. You will need to spend a pathos to engage in this struggle here, sir.
I'll do that. And I'll spend another one entering agony to engage arts narration alongside resolve and spirit.
Let me show you the difficulty against the goddess. It is a 16.
Which is why I will spend the favor of Zeus. And another pathos, which is now fate, to engage the courage, the blood and valor it will take to actually face off a goddess. And another fate to reason with her.
Let's see the roll.
And I will also cash in a divine favor with Hermes, because this is just bonkers. That is 12, 13, 14, 15.
The good news is you get a glory. The bad news is you need to mark a pathos, and you have to spend a point of divine favor.
Oh my.
And what
Fortitude.
It is, yeah.
Poseidon's fortitude.
You're going to spend that bond to prevent the damage.
So what? If I spend the fortitude to Poseidon, I don't take.
You don't take anything.
Oh no! I'm angling for that precise point in the fate track.
Okay. Then what we will see is this figure come out of the darkness as you are calling on Calliope. You're singing that song, and you will see this figure, and she reaches up to you and she says, "My sisters have abandoned me, so I have cut them off from this place. Behold the 10th muse of fire." And she lights you up. And you'll fall backwards. The island itself rolling you down until you fall into one of these canals.
Gee whiz.
And we'll see you catch yourself. And you said the fortitude of Poseidon?
Yes.
So that's where you are on the track. Let me see here. Right.
So I've just hit that fate dot.
Ah, okay.
Because I was after, when you spend divine favor, roll plus 2d4 and keep the highest.
Oh, absolutely. So you've got that. Poseidon, who you called the sacrifice to, there is that sense that he can't quite. This island is outside, it's kind of hidden away, but you're in the water, and he pushes you back up so that you can clutch on to one of these landings and pull yourself up. Your burns cooled by the water, and you'll found that you have not swallowed any of it, and you can pull yourself up. You are wet and bedraggled and cold, but you are not dead.
And I must find Toxophone.
Toxophone. Shall we cross that path together here?
Oh, I was searching for the others to figure out our plan before we set greens against reds or whatever they are, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be a better plan than this.
So I think you're walking along when you've heard a noise and a great splash, maybe a cry, and you come charging forward, and you will see a sodden and clearly injured Khryse pulling himself out of one of these canals of this flooded Acropolis.
And there's got to be that moment where they say, "I know what it is. We have to save the others."
I sense that your negotiations did not go as well as mine.
I didn't try. I went direct to the muses. There is a 10th muse, and she's very pissed off with everyone. She's holding them here. She's sucking the juice out of them.
The West Siders want me to lead them.
That I wondered whether if you led one side, I led the other, you could instill some martial discipline in the East Siders, and I'd bring a bit of inspiration and ad hocery to the West Siders. But this nothing we do. We have to free this island from this muse of fire.
Well, we have done stranger things. Let's gather together.
To Batman and Robin running into the shadows.
I think that's the point at which, by dramatic convenience, we have to have the two of you moving through the night cross paths with Nasus and Melanthios, having seen this shrine and this temple, this goddess who's clearly behind these workings, and we'll see the two of you come together. Nasus, Melanthios, very wet. Khryse is.
I see you've been traipsing about taking a bath as we do all the work.
And his gorgeous white tunic is scorched. There's a 10th muse. She controls fire, and she's cut the island off. This has got nothing to do with Apollo and the Muses. Nothing.
We have found a shrine deep within the heart of the island to the spirit of this, to the goddess of this island. I suspect she may be your 10th muse. And this,
I knew if anyone could find this, you would, Melanthius.
it appears that this Karakos has been luring unwary travelers to this island with this ongoing festival of fire in order to strip them of their wealth and feed the goddess of the island. The temple of Apollo is deserted and in disrepair. This is an infection in the island. We must take a stand, I think, against their plot.
You're preaching to the choir here.
Come, my brothers. Let us deal with one more apostate.
Topple the altar, get her all weak, and then I can maybe stab her, just like I stab other gods.
Well, if you wish to call her out, you know that stage that lies in the center is the clearly the focus point of everything. It stands between all points here.
But we should get rid of the altar first, right?
You could certainly go down into that chamber. You're not sure whether that would summon her up, and it would certainly the question of the muse. But how do you wish to do that?
With
The question is how
strength.
much you wish to do it with performance before others, or privately outside of the sight of anyone else.
Mm.
We
What if
must
we-
humble her before these people.
I agree with Khryse that we should bring the west side and the east side here, and realize that they have not served either of their purposes. Apollo will be furious when he hears their cries.
As am I.
But so grateful to us, Nasus, for taking this perversion of his worship.
Then I think we move to
They will fear more, Nasus, Apollo or you.
We'll move to the clash, the setup where each of you does a thing to help bring this battle together and to gain the advantage for your side. You get to choose your a domain for this as you battle against the island goddess Khryse and this 10th muse, who is known as Sepharia. So I'm going to roll for the difficulty of this goddess island, the island that you stand upon, and then you will tell me what you are doing. You get to choose your domain for this. That is a 17. Tell me, Nasus, what are you doing to prepare this battle, to call it up? You calling the people? Are you going down and destroying the altar? Are you, what is that what you're
Destroying
doing?
the altar. You got it. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to summon the strength of 10 men.
So that seems like blood and valor to me, right?
Oh, yes. I'm
Okay.
gonna heave this thing down.
And let's go around, and I'm going to get what I want to hear, kind of what everyone's doing. Then we'll generate those rolls. Melanthius, what are you doing?
I think that Melanthius has brought some of the gold and jewels from the altar, as these have been offered in sacrifice to the goddess. There will be a kind of spiritual link between her and them, and I think he decks himself in these golden chains as he steps up onto the stage and begins chanting a litany of condemnation against the goddess.
Seems like resolve and spirit from you. What have you,
Certainly.
Toxophone? What are you going to do?
I will go to the west side and tell them that they will come with me to the stage, and we will pray and call for Apollo and the Muses to see this last and final performance.
Arts and oration or resolve and spirit?
Arts and oration.
Okay. And what of you, Calixus?
Well, in order to get everyone to the same place, I have to go to the east side, and convince them that the west siders are stealing a march. Rather than waiting for tomorrow's competition, they intend to impress them now. Come!
Arts and oration. All of you to enter into this contest must mark pathos. Nasus.
Okay, let's do it. I am going to 17. The many-wayed. I'm going to mark another point of pathos to do craft and reason to find a point of weakness to which to strike it. And other advantage dice. I don't think so. And I'll spend a divine favor with Hephaestus as well.
Excellent. And I think when you do, I think then we'll start hearing those mechanical musician machines start up.
Yes.
Look at you calling on this for this clash. A 21 for Nasus. Melanthios.
Yeah, so I'm going to I'm actually going to bring in my arts and oration into this one as well. It's not a great dice for me, but it's I think appropriate. I am going to also draw on my bond with DMX to his poetic inspiration. I channel through my words.
His name die is actually a D10.
Ooh, nice. And I'm actually going to spend my point of favor with Ares as I ferociously spit out my imprecations against the goddess.
A 20 success. Toxophone. Still muted.
As we reach the stage, I gather them together and we make prayer to Apollo. I call upon my favor on Zeus, and I spend my bond with Calaxis because Calaxis taught me how to work a crowd. What do I get from filling the bond? Is that with Calaxis?
The name die.
That's a D10, is that right? Okay. Oh, and I will spend a divine favor with Hermes to carry our very message to Olympus. Uh, 10, 13, that's a 14.
We'll come back to that in just 1 second. And Calixis.
So I am Silver Tongue Calixis, so that's 2 D10s and a D8 with arts and oration. I will spend a point of fate to bring in resolve to inspire them for another D8. And how can I do this? And I will call in a bond with Nasus, going from 2 down to 1 to get another D10, because I will demonstrate. See the mechanical devices they're beginning to work. Now is the time. And finally, because I'm desperate to see this mechanic work, I will cash in my favor with Hera to get 2d4, from which I take the top one. Okay?
Yes.
Oh, unrecognized command. What do you mean? In the excitement, I put a space in. Okay, try that. So that is not very many. That is 12, 13, 14, 15.
So, Toxophone and Calixis, you two are calling the sides together. Both of you are marshaling them. And that is when you will see the flame kind of jump amongst the people. And we will see that Muse Sepharia like calling all of that fire and energy from them, that creative spark, and using that, and she will let loose with the flames on you. Each of you will have to spend a divine favor and mark a pathos.
Any divine favors okay?
Yes, but this is just Calixis and Toxophone, not Nasus.
Just as well I have one
Oh.
left then. What happens if you don't have one left?
Then you mark another on that track.
So that's not a choice then.
No. And she clearly, like, it's costs her energy, it costs her attention, but she will try to keep them back from joining in. But Melanthius, you will get 9 glory. Nasus, you will get 17 glory. Toxophonia and Khryse also mark 1 glory on that. And you will see the stage erupt, and you will see this island goddess pour out, bedecked in all of the gold and jewelry and finery that she has gotten. She is called forth here to stand against you. And with the assistance of this muse, and she will move to fight. And we go to the threat phase. Now, Nasus, you have a D10 advantage, and you may gift that to someone else and gain a bond, or you can hang on to that to use for yourself. And don't forget that you can always spend a bond if you have a bond, Alan, to reduce the damage that you took. If you don't want to take damage, or you can hold off.
Oh, I see. Then I think I will cash in the bond I had with Melanthius, because I know how to dodge this magical fire, because Melanthius knows this shit.
Mm-hmm. So then you don't take the extra pathos or sacred, the divine favor.
Oh, right. Hecate still in the back pocket.
So there are 2 threats. One is that this 10th muse is going to draw all of the creative fire from these people. But the other is that you're fighting a goddess of an island, and she will crack the temple, which has already been desecrated, and it will finish the sinking of this island. Those are the 2 threats that are on the table here. We successfully did that, so we take that down a step. I'm going to roll the strife now. I think that I will let you choose your realm for this one, because she is so powerful. Here we go. This is the difficulty for this contest, this threat. And once you succeed, to decide who is stopping threats, who is going to seize the day, and then we can move to the finale. It is a 16 for the difficulty. So let's ask the 2 people who need to rise up. Toxophone, in this coming battle, do you wish to face against the goddess herself and try and seize control, or do you want to deal with one of these 2 threats? Muted.
Can you give me the 2 threats again, please?
That this 10th muse will draw all of the creative fire from these people, or the goddess will crack the temple and sink the island.
Given the chance to kill a god, yeah, I think Toxophonia is fickle.
So you will go to seize. What about you, Khryse?
I have to talk down the crowd, don't I? And just sap any power that this muse is sucking out of them.
That seems fine. That seems good. Melanthios, threat?
I think that Melanthios is going to try and prevent the sinking of the island
And what will you do? Will you work to back one of them up to prevent the threat, or will you try to seize control alongside Toxophone? Or will you just decide to just aid one of them?
I think I will participate by... Yeah, I think I'll try to kill a god too, because that's how I get my glories from Papa.
Then let us start with the threats. Khryse, tell me, how are you stopping this muse?
I am Silvertongue Khryse, using arts narration, so 2d10 plus d8. Father, now is the time to decide whether you want to gather me in or leave me to show the mortals the right way. So how much is my father Zeus bond worth?
The bond for God is a d10.
And as I talk the crowd down, I clutch the little carving of Cerberus, and a slightly threatening shadow looms over them. So how much is the trophy worth?
D10. Let's
So
give you a D10 for that.
Okay, so that's a lot of D10s, and I will call in the favor with Hecate, because all or nothing. There isn't another roll after this, is there?
Yes, there is the finale.
Oh, sure, there is. There is. I will not call in Hecate yet. Then, ooh, few resources. That is 8, 9, 10. That is 13.
13.
Dun, dun, dun.
We'll come back to what that looks like. Melanthios, the island itself. How do you stop this?
Yeah, so I think Melanthius steps forward and casts down a handful of small polished shells and stones onto the ground, and he calls out to the spirits of earth and sea and air to come to him and do his bidding, as he works his hands and sort of roots start binding bits of the island together, as the firelight reflects in his golden eyes, and he's basically going to try and summon these spirits to hold the island together, and hold the temple together.
Excellent.
So I think I'm going to spend a point of pathos to bring in my craft and reason into this as well. I am also I'm going to spend likewise I'm going to spend my bond with Khryse to represent what I have learnt of performing before a crowd from his guidance, and I'm going to spend a divine favor with I think with Poseidon to channel his fortitude into the very fabric of the island itself. That's a 20.
Veils with a 20. And we will see those vines go and hold this island, even as she's trying to crack it to sink this, get rid of these vermin. Nasus, Toxophone, striking against a goddess. Nasus, let's start with you.
Okay. So I am going to use my shield as referenced earlier in the episode, to blind her with the light of Apollo, and then leap at her with a strike from the spear down. Blood and Valor. 16. Many Wade. I'm going to do a point of pathos to put in some craft and reason with my sneaky little move with the shield there. I'll use my trophy as well for that, the Touched by Apollo one, which is a D10.
Yep.
And I'll use my advantage die, so 2d10, right?
Sure. Use up those resources.
Yeah. Go big. I think that now is the time to go big.
Trust me, it never fails.
Ooh, maybe I'll call in my bond with Zeus as well, just to go big. Is that a D10 as well?
That is a D10 as well.
All right. Come on. This has got to work. And I'll use the Cunning of Hera.
It's almost like there's not a roll left after this one that you're considering.
Oh my God, and I barely did it.
Oh, a 17.
At least I did it, I guess.
And
Sheesh.
Toxophone.
All right. I am unwavering Toxophony, and I will strike at her with my spear. Her fire doesn't frighten me, for I am the oncoming storm. I spend a point of pathos because she is a goddess, and I have travelled. I spend a point of pathos and a bond because I have travelled long enough with Melanthius to know that not even the gods will scare me, and the conviction of Demeter will be my final addition to this.
Excellent.
That is 22.
22. So, Calixis, we see you go. We see you face down that muse there. But again, she hits you with that fire. You need to mark a point of divine favor. You can spend a bond to eliminate the damage if you wish.
Yes, I will spend my remaining bond with anyone, that's Nasus, because these mortals duck much better than the rest of us.
But the fire comes from those artists, from all of those dancers and singers and all of them, and you will see them fall to the ground. All of that inner fire, that spark that they spent 10 years cultivating, just gone in an instant.
The irony that Calixis has just seen the extinguishing of so much creative energy.
But we see the island held together by Melanthius' effort, and we see Nasus and Toxophone striking against the goddess, called up into mortal form. Calixis, you're going to gain a glory. Sorry about that. Toxophone, you're going to gain 16 glory. Nasus and Melanthius, you're going to gain 8 glory each. And what is the domain for this finale, Toxophone?
The thing with silver tongues is they can be cut out. So the final battle will be one of blood and valor.
Blood and valor for this final battle. What is the stake? What is going to happen here? If you win, you've seized control. Now, if you can finish this, what is going to happen? This is a group decision.
If we win, then we will cause her to spit back out the spark and return life to the mortals.
And I think we've got to have like Apollo and the Muses show up as well to like go, cool job, guys.
Absolutely.
Or perhaps more dramatic words.
I'm going to roll for this. Again, you must spend a pathos if you wish to enter into the contest, but you can also assist other people if you want in this final contest. Blood and Valor. A 15.
I'm in agony over this.
I remember agony.
Will you participate, Khryse?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've paid my fate. I've got 2 to go.
Okay. Nasus, you will also participate?
Oh, yeah.
Toxophone, I know you will.
Nah, I'm running away.
And Melanthius?
Yes, I will participate.
Then let us go through. Our target number is a 15. Failure will cost you divine favor and pathos. Success will let you seize the day. Let us start with Toxophone. Leads the charge.
Okay, I am unwavering Toxophony. I am striking with blood and valor. I call upon my favor with Poseidon, and she's a god of fire. I carry the blue flame of Phobos. Its cold is more impressive than her fire. I strike with the authority of Zeus and the speed of Hermes. And I think that'll do. Now I just got to remember what the hell that was. 2, 3, D10, 4 D10, 2 D8. 2d4, right. So don't ignore that because I put in 2d7, which is a completely different dice. Right, that is 16, 21.
That is a success. Melanthius, let us hear of you.
Yeah, so Melanthius takes out the skull in which resides a spark of Phobos as well. And as the spark starts to exits the mouth of the skull and begins to spin around his head, reflecting in his golden eyes as he begins to intone and says, your grasping and your greed have perverted the true spirit of this festival and these people and these lands. You have sought to elevate yourselves above the Olympians, which is an affront to them. I call upon Zeus to bring his judgment upon you. And at that, the flames spread over him, enveloping him entirely as he becomes a singular burning figure and leaps towards the goddess, fist outstretched. So I am going to invoke my resolvent spirit onto this roll as well. I am going to spend my bond with Zeus, and I'm going to spend a point of divine favor with Hermes, and I'm also going to invoke the spark of Phobos. So
You prevail with a 22, Melanthius. Nasus.
Okay. So I throw my shield at her and then leap with my very same spear that I use to impale apostates and call on the power of Furies. Is it possible to use both trophies in one roll?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I do that for sure. And I use a bond with Toxophone in using the grace of Toxophone to strike her down, hopefully. We'll see what I roll like. And I will mark also Fate to bring in my craft and reason. So let's see. Many Wade. Craft and reason. This would be 3 to 10. And I'll call on the daring and authority of Zeus. Come on. Oh my god, of course.
Fails with a 16.
Always.
You are nothing if not consistent.
Yeah, barely able to keep up with people.
And Calixus.
It's important that we know at this point I have 2 fate left. I will spend one of them so that I can invoke arts and oration as well. But I will scream, I am serpent scarred, Calixus. But the arts and oration is it cuts through, so she hears that. So that's 2d8 and 2d10. And my final divine favor to spot using Hecate's insight, the weak spot. So that's 2d10, 2d8, 2d4. That is 16, that is 17.
Oh! It is the sheer violence and force of your attacks, the shield, the screams, all of this brought to bear that will crack this island goddess, and she will break. And while she takes the wealth with her, the spark is released back into those falling artists. And we will see the light of Apollo strike down and the muses, and we see those sisters for a moment as they grab their 10th sister and drag her away, as only sisters can, to punish their own. 15 glory for Melanthios and 8 glory for everyone else. You would have died had you failed that roll, you know. That would have been the end of Calixus. But you will succeed, and we will see Apollo visibly giving his blessing, and Hermes called upon giving his blessing, and Hecate called by her son. But that will finish 3 constellations, which will allow you to return home. And the question is, we're going to look, there's a process for going through. We're going to truncate this a little, but we're going to go through this process here. The end, as we see all of you returning back to your ships, and this time when you set out with the cheering throngs of artisans behind you, this time when you set out, the ship is not immediately enveloped in mist. And you will head out and catch the wind back to your homeland. What, Melanthius, are your 2 highest virtues?
My 2 highest virtues are acumen and grace.
Okay, so I'm going to put this in the chat here. Acumen and grace means, would you call yourself arbiter, conjurer, or healer?
Oh, I think it's got. I quite like healer, but I think it's got to be conjurer. I think that's definitely been the aspect of Melanthius we've seen the most of, him summoning the dead, island spirits, all sorts of things. So yeah, definitely conjurer.
And what of you, Toxophone, what are your 2 highest virtues?
Grace and passion.
Grace and passion, champion, guardian, or slayer?
Champion.
Champion. And what of you, Khryse? What are your 2 highest?
Well, there's grace, and then I'm tied on all the other ones. So I'm going to go with grace and passion.
Architect, seer, visionary.
No, grace and passion, not acumen and passion.
Oh, grace and passion. Liberator,
So
peacemaker, or prophet?
Prophet.
Ooh, interesting. And what of you, Nasus?
So if it is tied, then we just pick either one?
Yep.
Okay. I've got courage, acumen, and passion. So, I think guardian.
All right. Which actually brings me back to David. I miscalled your thing. So I think it would be then grace and passion would be liberator, peacemaker, or prophet, right?
Yeah, liberator then. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Tell me, Melanthius, what was your greatest deed? Either one that you have recorded, or if you think there's a deed in the thing that you just did, what is your greatest deed?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I think it is going to be. I think actually, yeah, it is going to be holding together the island of Khryse. I think is the deed for which he will become most well known. The underworld thing is probably up there, but that's also a bit more just expected with his whole shtick. So
Yeah. And Toxophone, what is your greatest deed?
Oh, Toxophonia is the oncoming storm. In the years to come, people warn them that if they are cruel or unjust,
Will visit upon them. What about you, Khryse?
The theme running through this is a deep love of animals. So friend of Cerberus has got to be what I think he is known as.
And
in fact, I think when he does go to the underworld, he'll probably end up as Cerberus's keeper.
Oh, I like that. Like that very much. Nasus, our mortal, what will be your greatest deed?
My greatest deed is being able to compete and stand with the demigods, so that I can. It's like a fable for young mortals to aspire to. If you be like Nasus, you can stand with Hercules and the like and such.
Excellent. Now you have completed 3 constellations, which means you are permitted to return home. And you get to answer, will answer one of these questions that's in the chat that will add into the question. There are 3 questions that are in there because you did return home. Which one do you wish to answer, Melanthius?
I think it's going to be what monuments are built in my honor and what virtue of yours do people aspire to achieve. And I think that there is, I think on the Isle of Khryse, a statue is erected of Melanthius in his full-on aspect, encircled with the flame of Phobos, and I think the festival that started continues in a much more well organized and less lasting for 10 years.
Organized fire festival.
Indeed, excellent. Yeah. At the foot of this statue of him, and I think that the virtue that people follow is his I think is knowing to live in balance with the spirits and the gods.
Excellent. Toxophone, what question do you wish to answer of these 3 to add to your story?
What boons do the gods grant to your people? And Ares himself trains the Amazonians so their skill in battle will never be forgotten.
Excellent. Khryse.
What curse or burden befalls your people because of the ire you earned with one of the gods? Who could that be? I think that each year, one of my people, but not me, is cursed by Zeus to become a raven, the antithesis of the swan.
Oof.
That'll teach you, son.
Get a little too ahead of yourself. And Nasus?
I think the boon that my people are granted would be they are born with like the mark of Apollo.
What is that mark?
Yeah, I don't really know
like
much
a
about
turtle
Apollo.
shell or like a lyre or like a sun?
Maybe a sun in the form of like a birthmark.
Ah, excellent. We now check. This is your name die. If you're, what did everybody get their name die to? Did everybody get to a D10? Then all of you will be legendary heroes. Civilizations will forever use your name to instruct those seeking virtue. And we would put all of that together, your epithet, your name, all of these deeds, that becomes the legend for your character. And that is our story.
What was people's total glory at the end?
Alan, how much glory did you have?
I finished with 178.
178. Nasus?
176.
Melanthius?
187, I think, by the end.
And Toxophone?
191. So that establishes, Alan, as per the stage conversation, that I will have top billing. And you have second billing.
I'm honestly...
Yeah, cursed doesn't go well. Khryse, the cursed, is always lower billing.
I'm honestly shocked that those numbers are as close as they are. Like if this were a board game and the numbers came in, I would feel good about it because that range was, within 5-10% of one another. If you don't mind, we're a little over, but I would love to have a chance to do stars and maybe talk about what we thought about the mechanics. Let's start with stars, and then maybe talk about what we liked or what we would like to see or things like that. So let's start with Melanthius. Stars?
Yeah, stars all around. It was well, both this session and the run in general have been excellent. I've really loved everything that people have brought into the game. I really liked seeing Khryse kind of leaning into the tragic element of the whole thing, and seeing that kind of coming actually very close to meeting their fate was really cool. So that was excellent. I really liked seeing. I think I really like seeing the ingenuity of Nasus, where I think always playing in with that kind of crafty and cunning way of doing things. Even though obviously, like, mechanically there's not really any difference, and I thought that was really cool to see that across. And also just like, especially again in this one, how seeing how willing you were to sort of just to like play that supporting role was really cool. I love seeing Toxophone like just doing the thing, and that competitiveness with Khryse was great, and I really liked seeing all that come across. And Lol, I think just your I mean, before that, we're a little past time now, but just for debrief. But I think like consistently, you've just managed to like get the timing and pacing on these sessions absolutely perfect. They've never felt rushed at the end. It's always felt like they've come to a natural conclusion and have concluded really nicely. And I think you've done an excellent job on that. So thank you very much.
Toxophone. Stars.
Stars to all of my supporting actors. No, but look, I've really enjoyed this. I've enjoyed the characters coming to life, the small little interactions, the rivalries, the distinct voices. You could have had 4. If you look at the stat blocks, they're pretty simple, right? But you have 4 very, very strong characters. I always love playing off Alan. It's so much fun. But it's been a delight. I did love Nasus and that, again, that innocence and that competitor to the mortal, and say David and that real that supernatural Hecatean sort of a little bit weird. That was great, and that allowed me to have great fun playing a sort of the straight edge, straight arrow character with no deviation. Meant that I could do that because of support around me, and it was fun to do that. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Alan?
I mean, Dave, right back at you. I think we've only played in 2 series together, but it feels like you're an old mate of mine now. The way we go at it, and Fraser, you took the shade really well, and then you threw it back in my face. So I really appreciate the way that you took that, because some people get a bit twitchy about it. And David, we went from kind of goth boy to master of the arcane. There were arcs all over the place. Nasus and Apollo. Toxophone is less an arc and more a straight line, but is an arc. And David, that once you became Witchwise, I thought it became a much richer character. Actually, I like Witchwise. And Lowell, the others have said it, but that was really well done. Characterization, wine.
It's one of my favorite vocal affects. I love that one. I think it comes from an old British comedy show that I watched years ago.
Fast Show. Paul Whitehouse in the Fast Show.
Okay. And Nassus, Fraser,
Yeah,
stars.
I thought everybody did a great job. Everybody was very distinctive. Everybody was interesting to interact with. I had very interesting and fun interactions with all of the characters. And yeah, just the table culture felt really good. Everybody was like jovial, and there was no like prickling about like min-maxing and stuff like that. It was just a very enjoyable game. And yeah, I thought everybody, like they said, that you ran it quite well. Everything, like even the first session, even though you said that you wanted to get more done, we got tons done, and then we came to this conclusion. So, what more could you hope for, really, right?
Yeah. I want to give stars. Like this is so much fun to run. It was like I was like, oh, this would be kind of fun. This was super fun to run. Every session was a pleasure to play. Every time I came to people to see what they were going to do, it was amazing. I have to give a special shout out to David Walker here for asking for this, because I don't know if I would have run this otherwise. Like, I had literally just started to look at it when you posted, oh, I'd like to play that, and I was like, okay, I'll put it on the thing. And this was great. Like, this was a real joy, like really a real spark of joy every time. I enjoyed it. I loved all the islands. By the way, today's island is one of the stretch goal islands by James Mendez Hodes. And I do think there's some definite, that is Diamex, and it is the Rhapsody or the rap battles are in there. I tried not to go too far into that joke, but there's some great stuff in there. And there's so many more. Like, there are, I think, 6 stretch goal islands, plus the book has just a ton that are when you look at them, I go, wow. So I'm kind of going to my comments on the system. The book is beautifully set up. There's so many resources for running this. Like, if I could run this again 2 or 3 times and never repeat the islands, there's enough resources there. And it's pretty well laid out. There are a few mechanical things that I would shift. The fact that we do that, like the sacrifice has that very basic 2d6 thing, and then we do the leadership contest, and it feels like we do the same thing one after the other. And then where the Vault of Heaven falls in the sequence as they have it feels odd. And those are just 2 GM things on my side. But let's talk about the game. I'm going to say, for me, I enjoyed the system. Even though it was a dice pool building system, and even though it's a very structured game, I really enjoyed it. There's a lot I liked. I could see some odd spots, but I did dig it. Mr. Morrison, I know that you had some thoughts on the system.
Yeah, I always have thoughts on systems, but yeah, no, I thought in general, again, absolutely, really loved it. I think that it does a very good job of setting up that, like, because it's one of the things that is actually quite difficult to do well sometimes. I think that sort of setup where kind of everyone is sort of pretty much always expected to succeed and always expected to be able to pull off like the big heroic stuff. And I think it does it well. I think it does it in a way that feels interesting and still feels tense, even if, like I said, I think the number of actually failed rolls we had, you could probably count on the fingers of one hand, give or take.
Recently, all on my hand.
Yes, indeed. And so I think that's really, I think it does a really good job of getting that sort of character development stuff out by way of like setting up the roles and invoking it. I like that kind of very not narrative isn't quite, almost narrated feel to the actions. I really like that. I think that's a really cool element. It sort of ties back in. I know I said this about Blades before, but like I said again, it's that idea of like, you should be playing into your strengths. That's the point of the game. That's the point of the genre. Is it's yes, sometimes fate will deal you a bad hand, but generally it's about doing something you're very, very good at and doing it well. And I like that. My criticisms of the game, or the criticism is possibly too strong a word. I felt the support action, giving one glory for that, feels really stingy. Especially because I think in some situations you want to be incentivizing people to support more, because sometimes you don't want to have everyone doing like the big full spiel of like, oh, I step forth and do my heroic thing, when sometimes you just want that, yeah, okay, this is obviously we're going into to fight we're going in to fight the Gorg, and this should be like Toxophanes like moment to shine. But that also sort of ties in with the sort of the middle bit of the end sequence, the not the clash, not the finale, but the bit in between, the actual like the big part of the conflict, as it were. It feels like I think sometimes it feels when there's like only been 2 additional threats, and we're obviously playing with 4 of us, it always feels like somebody, I suppose it's like a dual thing where like sometimes it feels like some person is just kind of feeling a bit superfluous, because it's like, well, I guess I'll join in on the main conflict to increase our chances of succeeding overall.
Yeah.
But it feels less like I think it felt better, the ones where everyone was doing their own thing rather than everyone, like, because the collaboration thing doesn't quite work out. I think that's my only, I think it is the bit which I think all of my things touch on too. I did like the sort of competitive edge, but at the same time I felt like I don't feel like it always added as much as it could have done. Sometimes it felt like it was just like, we just want to succeed at this. It doesn't. I don't know. There's not like a fix. I don't think it's a big problem. I think it's just it didn't always quite land for me, that like semi-competitive side of it. But yeah, I think that's what all of mine kind of revolve around. Is I'm not entirely sold on that, but I don't think any of the bits it does like break the game. But yeah, anyway, that's enough for me.
I will say on that threat point, that's a really good point, and that's on a GM side, because they say you can do 2 or 3 threats, and I think you're right. Now that I've had a chance to run it, I would, except for like this last one where I wasn't sure if you'd make it, I would always give 3 threats. But if it was really uncertain, I might just give 2. But I think generally it's probably better, for there to be, spread out. And I think you're right about that. Mr. Walker, thoughts on system? I know you're not a big fan of the Blades downtime.
I think with John Harper, you've got Lady Blackbird, which is one of my favourite and most simple systems ever, and then you've got Blaze of the Dark, which I want to throttle rulebook, right? And this fitted just about into when we first started playing. I thought, right, this is we're going to fall into that horrible fictional cycle, but the cycle is good and it's strong. Everything has a purpose. It hasn't gone as heavy as Blaze is for me, so I enjoyed that. I think the challenge comes. I actually did miss like physical dice for this one, right? Because I've been wanting to put together think about how am I going to do this, because it's such an important part of the game. It's actually almost the tactility of I need to build my pool and think what I'm spending. That did have, though it's fun, it's interesting, it does kill things so dead when that's happening. Conversation sort of stops in the game. I think this is a game that I definitely would run in a 4-hour session. You could do a full cycle in the game. With 3 hours, it was sort of went bang, bang, bang. And that meant we were often picking up effectively the remembering scene at the start of the next game, which is not a bad thing, because they're going, what happened? A week's a long time, right, at this moment. But that meant we couldn't celebrate. I don't have the same problems David had around the challenge stuff, actually, because it's what do you want to challenge? Who do you want to challenge out? I mean, I had to challenge Khryse at the with the arts, right? That had to be done. But then last time in the 3rd session, I was specifically going, if I sort of support all the way through, I'm going to get to the end and I'm going to have like my big bag of tricks ready to go. And it's like easy to win this. You can play it and game it tactically, depending on the play style you want. So I think it works. I think it's just simple enough. I think it is quite Goldilocks, right? It is just right in that middle. But I think, yeah, I'd run this over 4 hours. I'd
agree.
Run it. Roll for your party is what's cool as the sheets for roll for your party. At least you can put that tactility sort of building up your roll. I'd be frantically scribbling down and notes going like, what does my roll look like? And that's my only, I think, downside to it. I think if you had more time as well, you could spend more time on the ship and the journeying, which is sort of that breathing phase. But no, other than that, I think it plays remarkably well, and allows you to do a monster of the week or a sort of a journeying character and story in a really evocative way, compared to the other game I'm playing with David, which I'll give my thoughts on Saturday when we finish our last game. That has a lot of mechanical heavy weight to it, which I'm not sure delivers the purpose it intends to. So I've enjoyed it. I definitely play in it again and run it again. And I think it's incredibly hackable as well to tell different mythic stories, right? We could have been playing Norse Warriors or doing Journey to the West with this.
Journey to the West. Your point about the physical I hadn't even really considered how much that tactility plays in, but I know people who play Cortex where the dice pools are built up, that's like really important and they have a hard time with online. I hadn't thought about that. I will mention I did buy the Roll20 kit that they just put out. I didn't use it because you'd have to like redo the whole thing. You can't add it into an existing session, but it's got lots of nice like tokens and the maps and things. It's pretty. I don't think it's necessary, but it is a pretty thing. It's nice to see more companies doing that. But it doesn't get away. You still have the problem where you're not building the pools. You're not able to kind of pull them together and touch them. Fraser, your thoughts?
The only thing I had a problem with was in the beginning, I was very concerned with being able to put everything that I was doing with the dice into a narrative for what I was doing. And the system sort of punished me for that because I would start failing or getting lots of low dice and stuff like that. So, and it made it harder to justify in the fiction what I was doing. Like if in the Odyssey, a lot of people will be like portrayed as godlike or have the aspect of Hermes or Hera or whatever about them as they do a specific thing. But having multiple at the same time, what does that look like, right? And then invoking a bunch of deeds, what does that look like? But then if you don't, you might not win, especially if the target number is huge, right? Like even with 3d10 twice, I still only barely covered the thing. So that was my only problem, is just trying to picture what all of that looks like into the fiction. So I wonder if maybe there's like some really good example text in the book, maybe I'd be able to figure out, but
it has some pretty good stuff in there. There is some example text. I think more would be better, but there is some, and 4 hours, actually. I think if you had 4 hours, I think you could space to give you more time to think about that, maybe make those roles a little easier to narrate. So that's another thing. It's a good points. Alan, I'm going to give you last word on this subject.
Blades is opaque to me. I never understand the stakes. I never get it. I keep buying the games thinking I will find one that I will be confident to run, and it never happens. This is spot on for me. There's enough grit in this that, I was very keen to push the system by, going into Fate, spending pathos liberally. I was curious to see whether you could break it. And I don't think you can. I think that, if Khryse had died on that last roll, there's some quite nice stuff in the epilogue that deals with that as well. So that doesn't matter. I think it hits the genre spot on. because, you know, Greek heroes compete. You know, they are typically macho, you know, jocks. And so I think that idea of the contests, I think, is neat, because it matters that we win, but it's quite nice if you win. That scratches a slightly competitive itch that I have. So I like that. In terms of issues, yeah, I think it does feel like support is undervalued. You know, it's better to have tried and failed than to help somebody else succeed. Doesn't seem quite right. And I think it is quite a literary game. I think that it lends itself to having, you know, what's that word I'm looking for? You know, a bit like sometimes Fate can be. You know, the capacity to take that aspect and kind of make it relevant. So I think that because it's all narrative, I think that's quite demanding. Certainly, I haven't worked quite as hard in a game for a while. But yeah, you know, I am already hacking this for the Celtic Pantheons, and we'll run it in the autumn. There's no question, because I can't think of a better game to play Mythic.
I will say, and it's something that the comment that's made in the chat here that kind of plays off of what you're saying is, like, I know Greek myths. I could probably do this with Viking stuff, as I grew up, you know, those are the books that I read as a kid, like, over and over again. If you were to ask me to do this with Japanese or Welsh, Celtic, or, you know, Egyptian mythos or any of that stuff, I couldn't do it. Like, I would really have to have some support materials to do that. And I think that is something that the book has some address on, but does need, a GM really needs to be aware of that it's very easy to, you know, if you know it, to throw too much stuff at the table on that materials.
And I think there is a risk in that if you know it really well, you could lose the table really easily. No, I found myself skimming through some old World of Darkness Scion, you know, thinking, Pantheons, woo. But I don't know, you know, there's not enough in there for me to know which one I should throw at Fortitude.
Yeah. No, I think there's some good stuff. I enjoyed myself. I had a great time. This is a great table. Like let me just say that flat out. This was a dynamite table, players. I'm so lucky I got to run for the four of you together, that you all could make it, and I had a joy in every session. So thank you all. I'm going to stop the recording.